Hello everyone, this is Saurian Target welcoming you back to the next installment in our Carnivores Mods Showcase series, where today we are covering a highly requested canon-style mod, Carnivores Abandoned Islands. So what I plan to do with Abandoned Islands is the same as I've done with every other mod in this series, just run it through the courses. Analyze everything from the menu designs to the maps, the dinosaurs, the weapons, and anything else this mod has in store for us. And of course, many mods hide secrets and Easter eggs within the depths of their content, and as long as I've found them, I'm showing them off, so consider this your spoiler warning. If you want to wait and discover everything for yourself, go download and play the mod first, then come back. And of course, if you want to download and play this mod for yourself, there will be a link in the description for you to do so. So, without further ado, let's begin. Now, before we get into the actual content of the mod, let's take a look at the backstory to give us some context regarding these abandoned islands. Obviously, when Dino Hunt Corp purchased this planet and turned it into a hunting reserve, not every single island was going to be used for that purpose. Firstly, for a novice company, it would be impossible. The finances to rig and set up every island discovered would be astronomical. Thus, the original 6 islands were the only ones established for hunting. In addition, Dino Hunt Corp cannot operate off-world very effectively. So planet-side settlements had to be established in order to begin research and business divisions. Not to mention the areas of the planet are described as inhospitable. Not every jagged rock in these oceans should be opened up right from the start. There are a plethora of reasons why certain islands were withheld from hunting ventures. But now, these long-abandoned islands have been opened for hunting, where familiar and new dinosaur species survive in their harsh world. A nice and simple premise. Old islands discontinued by the company are now open for hunting, and as Dino Hunt Corp's newest client, you get the opportunity to hunt on them. Now we can dive into the mod itself with the first thing players would encounter, the menus. Of course, you'll sign Dino Hunt Corp's waiver, because when you open up a safari on an alien planet with dinosaurs and guns, no one wants to be held responsible for the inevitable fatalities. After signing up, you move into your account. Carnivores Abandoned Islands starts you off with 1 point, which sounds daunting, but you'll soon realize that it's not a terrible start. It does give you a good sense that you are progressing and earning your rewards, which we will get to later. The menu art is effective and quite unique. It's not often you see an animal mid-meal to start off your journey. The menu also provides a nice glimpse at the variety of animals available to you in the Abandoned Islands tour. It's not often to see a tyrant lizard and a terror bird sharing the same living space, and this menu immediately sets Abandoned Islands apart from other strict dinosaur or prehistoric animal-themed mods. The menu music is the traditional Carnivores installation beat, complete with the opening Rex roar and closed out with the new sound of a double-barreled shotgun bringing down a Tyrannosaurus. It's a nice touch that complements the opening roar and provides a more inspirational conclusion than the original hunter dying sound. Now we move into the hunt menu, sporting Abandoned Island's dark red color theme, appropriately conveying the danger and mystery associated with these discontinued places. They were discontinued for a reason, after all. I also want to point out that the dinosaurs are listed in the order of their prices, which really appeases my OCD nature. As you can see, the first island, dinosaur, and weapon cost nothing, meaning you will be starting out with these to begin building your points. The trophy room for the Abandoned Islands tour is quite different than the standard trophy gallery. I really like this, even if it's just a minor aesthetic touch. I think the trophy room for each Dino Hunt tour should be different than the others. Again, even if it's just a minor touch. The trophy room is much more open than the original trilogy's gallery, this time encircled by an imposing dinosaur wall, probably there more for aesthetic reasons than actual protection, unless there's actually something worth guarding in those crates. There are also several huts in the trophy room, one in the center, replacing the large square protrusion, and 4 more at each corner of the room. Walking inside the central hut will trigger the main menu music, giving you a nice little place to relax and listen to some tunes. There is, as I'm sure you've noticed, a long hallway that parts the dinosaur wall on the right side of the gallery. Walking down to the end of this gallery will take you to essentially the end of the planet, with a steep vertical drop-off into an endless ocean. There is another hut down here, and stepping inside will trigger another song. I think this song is maybe the theme song from the web series Ruby. I'm not 100% sure on that though. If it's something different, let me know. Each bit of equipment in the Abandoned Islands tour is standard Dino Hunt Corp fare, with camouflage, cover scent, radar, and double ammo returning. Each receives a minor bit of red recoloring on the menu to fit the Abandoned Islands theme, but overall function is the same way they have always been. Carnivores Abandoned Islands features 8 maps, with a mixture of modified, familiar areas and some new areas, all seeing hunters for the first time. Further inspection of these islands quickly reveals just why they were discontinued from the hunting program until now. Many of them are coated in impenetrable fog, skewered with deep, deadly chasms, or nearly drowned in constricting bodies of water. It's a wonder that Dino Hunt Corp even opened many of these areas for hunting in the first place, perhaps out of desperation to keep interest in their hunting genre, for what draws dinosaur hunting adrenaline junkies better than dangerous quarry and extreme locations? The first area available at 0 points is the Tomb of Sargeras. This island is your typical starting area, in the spirit of such islands like the Woods of Turan Shocks and Delpheus Hills, although I'd argue more interesting than both. The Tomb of Sargeras seems to be built in the vein of Carnivores 1 areas, with the tropical vegetation and saturated skies giving off a bright, healthy look. In fact, it's kind of a wonder that this map was even sectioned off before the Abandoned Islands tour was initiated. It consists primarily of tropical jungles, rolling hills, and flat plains. Pretty standard stuff. Perhaps it was never initiated because of its remote location on the planet. The only real area of concern on this simple tropical jungle is a deep pit, which houses the tomb itself. Apparently, Dino Hunt Corp found this pyramid buried in the ground and launched a full archaeological dig project to unearth and explore the structure. It's nice to see Dino Hunt Corp taking an interest in their planet's history and culture, instead of sidelining the many temples and pyramids as nothing more than decorative backdrops. The dig team at the tomb managed to unearth a door that leads inside the structure, a door that many members have since entered but never returned from. Unfortunately, I myself could not find a doorway into this tomb. It would have been nice to see, even just a small room inside, perhaps similar to the tomb in the pyramids of Smoohadron's extended areas, since the two share many aesthetic similarities, and perhaps it would have been littered with the bodies of those who entered. However, Dino Hunt Corp perhaps sealed off the entrance as to keep the rest of the crew safe from whatever mystery lurks inside the tomb. The only other area of note on this peaceful island is a small community of huts located to the east of the tomb. Built in similar style to Dino Hunt's other colonizing huts, this may have been where the archaeology team stayed, as it is in close proximity to the tomb. The community is, of course, abandoned. You can't be digging holes in the ground when the area is open for hunting, and seems to feature the remnants of an aqueduct system, perhaps dug by the team for water consumption and plumbing, as there seems to be no other sources of fresh water on the island. A solitary Moschops corpse lies outside the camp, perhaps coincidentally as an unfinished dinosaur meal, or perhaps as a warning to leave by the mysterious presence in the tomb. The next hunting area available at 50 points is the Quarto Islands. This group of tiny islands house immense populations of dinosaurs, as the small island structure forces animals to live in close proximity to each other. Because of the large volcano to the southwest, this entire batch of islands may have been formed by volcanic activity, as the flatlands outskirting the jungles look pretty volcanic. Where the Tomb of Sargeras was a large, solid island suited to longer, patience-oriented hunting, these islands are much more suited for fast-paced, close-quarters combat. Large amounts of animals live on these cramped islands, making hunts intense, brutal, and quick. A single gunshot can alert every animal on the island, predator or prey, forcing hunters to develop quick reaction times, steady hands, and nerves of steel. These islands are mainly comprised of thick, tropical jungles surrounded by flatlands. It's interesting to see Dino Hunt Corp opening up very small areas that almost don't qualify as an island, for hunting, as the animal populations could quickly diminish if hunting here persists. Despite this concern, the Quarto Islands is one of the most intense and fun hunting areas Dino Hunt Corp has to offer, and perfectly suits those who prefer more action-oriented dinosaur hunting. The next island available at 100 points is the Isle of Basmashi Minor. This island is stated to be one of the smaller islands in the Basmashi chain, a group consisting primarily of Basmashi rocks and the extended areas. Despite this claim, this island is actually much larger circumference-wise than either the original Basmashi Rocks island or its extended areas. However, as far as actual island mass goes, this island is quite tiny, as the land-to-water ratio leans heavily in favor of water. This island is essentially a ring surrounded by ocean with an enormous lake in the middle. Basmashi Minor, I think, would be one of the premier areas of interest in Dino Hunt's other recreational activities. Of course, the fact that the company specifically mentions their hunting divisions implies they have other divisions as well, for it would be a waste of such an exotic planet to limit it to hunting only. Under Dino Hunt's supervision, of course, Basmashi Minor provides excellent snorkeling opportunities in the clear lake water, although there are unfortunately no ancient cities submerged in the lake. Basmashi Minor also provides some of the best mountain climbing on planet FMMUV-32, with soft yet steep mountains in the northeastern section offering some excellent treks through the wilderness. The entire island, in fact, just looks safe, like a nice wooded paradise for exploring or having a picnic. The whole aesthetic of the map, in fact, looks a little too soft and safe for an island in the Basmashi chain. The Isles of Basmashi often appear harder, with much tropical vegetation and rocky outcroppings, giving the islands an edgy look. The Isle of Basmashi Minor seems to favor the woods of Turan Chalks, or even the ancient temple in appearance. But none of this detracts from the Isle of Basmashi Minor's status as a very fun and somewhat challenging hunting destination. The next island available at 300 points is the Isle of Fog. This area is, obviously, known for its massive amounts of fog produced by natural gases. This fog completely coats the island in a hazy blanket, nearly impossible to see through. From the overhead map, this island looks very similar to Manya Jungle, surrounded by water with a giant diagonal lake chiseled down the middle, essentially turning the island into a thick ring, kind of similar to the Isle of Basmashi Minor. The first thing you'll probably notice upon arrival, aside from the obvious fog, is the deafening roar of some unseen monster. This roar sounds like the most recent iteration of Godzilla's roar, but last time I checked, Godzilla was not native to planet FMMUV-32. Now, this roar was the first sound that played the first time I loaded up this map, and my goodness, it scared me half to death. It's a really cool touch to hear this ancient, primal roar shattering through the fog for the first few times, but when it starts layering with other roars, it gets a little stale after the 11th time. Now, hunters claim that an evil spirit haunts the forest in the northwestern portion of the island. Whether or not this roar is connected to the supposed spirit is not made clear. I tend to think not, considering that the culprit of the roar is later revealed, but the evil spirit of the forest is never addressed again. This forest is easily identified by the larger, less tropical-looking trees and the haunting sounds that accompany it. This forest can be an easy place to get lost, and it's easy to see why hunters associate it with an evil spirit. There are 2 huts in the northern section of the island, guarded by a miniature dinosaur wall, perhaps to protect them from the spirit of the forest, or perhaps to protect them from something larger. To the northeast of the island are 2 large clearings in the trees, a seemingly random occurrence, but the fact that they are the only breaks in the otherwise dense jungle makes one wonder their exact cause. The Isle of Fog is a great place to make a couple of atmospheric trips to explore, but if you actually want to hunt here and stand an actual chance, I'd recommend going with fog turned off. The next area available at 500 points is Hell Valley. Not to be confused with Hell Island or Mount Hell or the other dangerously hot areas on the dinosaur planet, Hell Valley is a border area located right on the borderline of the central sector, the primary home of the dinosaurs with few other reptiles, and the Triassic sector, the home of the synapsids and archosaurs with few dinosaurs. However, the Triassic sector is off limits from Hell Valley, probably for paperwork clearance and license issuing on Dino Hunt Corp's part, and to avoid non-native species crossing over the border and invading. As such, an enormous dinosaur wall guards the southern portion of the hunting area, keeping everything on this side in and on that side out. Hell Valley is also an area of mixed topography. Tropical jungles line each side of the chasm walls, while a hot and featureless desert fills the valley floor. The jungles only last halfway down these ridges, however, as they soon make way for more desert, although these are filled to the brim with various types of cacti, making good places for small animals to hide. The carcasses of various animals, including the apex predator Tyrannosaurus, lie in the bottom of the canyon, solemn reminders of the dangers that come with such desolate areas. The next area available at 500 points is Merciless Canyon. A somewhat desolate stretch of land, this landmass is essentially the Great Lake extended with a huge canyon cut through the middle. The primary lakes from the original island seem to have been expanded as well, taking up a significantly larger portion of land than before. Between these extended lakes and the enormous chasm, there is actually very little room left for hunting on this treacherous area. Now, Dino Hunt Corp labels this canyon as filled with a toxic gas that will kill any animal that falls in, but don't worry about that. It's completely harmless. Just kidding, that gas will vaporize your lungs instantly. But if you select the non-lethal exploration method, you are granted access to Dino Hunt Corp's fumigation masks that let you traverse the deadly canyon. Although the gas down here will kill any living animal that falls in, I said kill any living animal, it helps plants grow, and there are many tropical plants that grow on the canyon floor. However, also scattered across the floor are the bodies of many different dinosaurs, ranging from large herbivores to large predators. Unlike the gas pit on the extended portions of Basmashi rocks, this gas rises far too high to be evaded by even the tallest of dinosaurs, meaning it claims all victims, even some dinosaurs not available on this tour. There is a large bridge that crosses the chasm in the middle and grants access to the western side of the gorge, which is more heavily wooded than the eastern side. Back on the western side, heading south takes you to a lone Tyrannosaurus encircled by a ring of trees. An odd sight for sure, but just wait until you enter the grove itself. Yeah, I'll not play the entire song here, but if you want to go listen to it for yourself, you'll be in for quite a treat. The next island available at 1,000 points is Death's Domain. If you thought hunting in the Isle of Fog was difficult, just wait until you enter Death's Domain. Visibility is essentially neutralized. It's almost impossible to make out anything other than the towering trees and mountains. The ominous roaring returns, like on the Isle of Fog, but instead of just acting like a quick landing spot, Death's Domain is the home of the bellowing beast. Down in the southern part of the island is a large, horseshoe-shaped mountain. Nestled deep in this mountain lies the monster itself, which Dino Hunt Corp scientists have dubbed Dracoceratops theriumus, the dragon-horned beast. This huge winged monster towers above anything on the planet, ground or sky-based, and hovers over its fallen victims. It's a very interesting concept to see an enormous kaiju-like creature added to the Carnivores lore, and one that is subtly hinted at throughout the game. Scorch marks appear in different areas across different maps. Echoic roars are heard in the distance, and huge expanses of trees are mysteriously cleared. What else could have caused these disturbances but a massive flying monster? It even appears to have destroyed the northwestern section of Death's domain, reducing it to jagged, mountainous rubble. The dragon-horned beast fits perfectly into the abandoned island sector. Many of these areas are filled with toxic gas, fog, or deep water, all areas this monster can easily fly over to pick off its targets. This beast may very well have been the primary reason these islands were left to abandonment in the first place. As for the rest of the map, it appears to be a modified version of Ash Waste, but it's literally impossible to hunt here with this intense red fog. So it's probably best to turn the fog off if you actually want to hunt here. The final area is a little strange for a hunting destination. It's the Hunter Training Facility, available at 2,000 points. This area is a fantastic spot for players who like rapid-fire, fast-paced action. How Dino Hunt Corp manages to drop off so many animals in such a small confinement is beyond me, but the fact that they make it happen is remarkable. Here you can hunt any creature to your heart's desire in a relatively controlled space. There are several huts, crates, and even a large pool here to break up the monotonous stone walls. But really, hunting here doesn't last too long. Carnivores Abandoned Islands features 10 huntable creatures and 4 ambient creatures. Of these animals, there are several classic returning beasts, along with many subspecies, but more than a few are brand new to planet FMMUV32. Each dinosaur on the tour has its own call icon, which I think is just a really nice and thorough touch. There's just something about creating custom call icons that I find very appropriate and enjoyable when it comes to mods. The tiny flying reptile Dimorphodon returns to the skies of the dinosaur planet, this time in the air of the abandoned islands. Dimorphodon and its relatives are very hardy and widespread animals across the dinosaur planet, able to live almost anywhere in any conditions, be it jungle, desert, mountain, fog, or subarctic forest. The little climbing creature remains virtually the same from the other regions it inhabits, helping bridge the gap between the planet's known central sector and these newer abandoned islands. The pterosaur Zungaripterus makes its first appearance in the planet's airways, shortened by Dino Hunt Corp to Zung, perhaps smartly for marketing purposes, as Zungaripterus is quite a mouthful. On Earth, Zung was discovered in China, specifically in the Jungar Basin, but on the dinosaur planet, the pterosaur seems to be limited to the abandoned islands, perhaps due to dwindling populations. The pterosaur nicely expands the ever-limited pterosaur roster, and the red and green colors perfectly blend into most landscapes from above, keeping it mostly safe from larger flying threats. The classic lumbering synapsid Moschops makes a return appearance on the Abandoned Islands tour, remaining virtually unchanged since its discovery in the first chain of islands. Essentially the ground-dwelling version of Dimorphodon, Moschops is a hardy and common little brute, found on almost every corner of the planet in some shape or form. Here, the Moschops fulfills its time-established role as a small herbivore and prey item. The new ambient creature that helps bridge the gap between the land and sky variants is the Microraptor, a tiny four-winged dinosaur capable of gliding short distances if startled. Microraptor is a peaceful dinosaur. Its loud, bird-like cries can be heard as it scampers across the ground in search of food. If startled, Microraptor is capable of taking off with its wings and gliding away from potential threats. This ability makes Microraptor unique, an innovative little creature that remains distinguished from the many strictly land or sky-based animals. Microraptor's bright red colors are usually not seen on inhabitants of the dinosaur planet, nicely differentiating it and referencing the colorful birds it resembles. The first dinosaur available to hunt at 0 points is Saurolophus, a rather peaceful and loud novice rank hadrosaur. On Earth, Saurolophus is a well-known dinosaur, with many complete specimens discovered from Canada to Mongolia. On the dinosaur planet, Saurolophus bears a strong resemblance to the planet's other popular hadrosaur, Parasaurolophus. Both share similar body structure, coloration, and even sounds. Where the Parasaurolophus call is a high, warbled trumpet, the Saurolophus's call is a low, sad trumpet. As Saurolophus is a relatively safe starting animal, Dino Hunt Corp takes care to always drop you off next to one on the Abandoned Islands tour. This can be both a blessing and a curse. While this is a nice and convenient way to grab points early on, Saurolophus is dangerous if frightened, and I can't think of many things more frightening than to be minding your own business when a tiny bipedal primate suddenly appears in front of you, armed to the teeth with projectile weaponry. I have been killed by the spawned Saurolophus so many times that I almost just expect it when hunting on this tour. But luckily, Saurolophus is an easy and weak target that can be easily dealt with. The next novice rank dinosaur available at 5 points is Avamimus, a tiny bird-like dinosaur from prehistoric Mongolia. The Avamimus is a nice departure from the many ankylosaurid dinosaurs that usually occupy the second slot on different Dino Hunt tours. Because the Avamimus only costs 5 points, it can be quickly hunted after starting, and is a much easier target than the Saurolophus. This little dinosaur looks like an oviraptor, but is a plant eater, and is not dangerous unless frightened. The Avamimus call is a shrill, chattering cry, similar to some of the ambient cries heard in Vengar Fjords. This is a nice touch that fleshes out the earlier areas, and it determines just what creature is responsible for an unknown cry we've heard so many times. Avamimus is also a very weak dinosaur, even weaker than the Saurolophus, and can be downed by one shot by many of the weapons on the Abandoned Islands tour. Despite its tiny size and weak build, Avamimus is a very cool creature, sporting colors not often seen on FMMUV32 dinosaurs. The next and final novice rank dinosaur is the bus-sized Stegosaurus. This large herbivorous dinosaur is easily recognizable thanks to the distinctive double row of plates running down its back, and is a very common sight on the dinosaur planet. The Stegosaurus on the Abandoned Islands tour is slightly different than the more common Stegosaurus variant. This Stegosaurus retains basically the same body structure, but features more prominent green coloration and darker red plates, indicating perhaps a more jungle-oriented Stegosaur species. In addition, where the more common Stegosaurus will flee if startled, the Stegosaur on the Abandoned Islands tour is much more aggressive. This Stegosaur will charge and attack if frightened, trampling its victims into the dirt. Despite this danger, the Stegosaurus is relatively easy to take down, and its large size makes it an effortless target from most distances. The next dinosaur available at 50 points is the intermediate rank Troodon. Now, Dino Hunt Corp usually includes a novice rank carnivore for beginning hunters to try, but in the more dangerous Abandoned Islands, they bump it up to the intermediate rank with Troodon, a dinosaur the company describes as very intelligent and sneaky. A fitting description, as Troodon is a very small yet cunning dinosaur. The Troodon in the Abandoned Islands tour is very different than the typical Troodon seen on the dinosaur planet. This Troodon is much smaller and much harder to hit, but can be dealt with by using proper evasion techniques. Camouflage is Troodon's real strength. With its small size and dark green coloration, this dinosaur is nearly impossible to find. In fact, go ahead, try and find the Troodon in this picture. If you couldn't find it, it's here. This little creature is extremely sneaky and will happily eat whatever gets in its way. The next dinosaur available at 75 points is the iconic Triceratops. Okay, so as far as ranking goes, the original Carnivores game placed Triceratops at advanced rank, but there were only 3 ranks back then, and it doesn't quite feel like an advanced rank dinosaur. Carnivores Reloaded designates the beast as intermediate rank, but I'm not sure where this creature is supposed to officially rank. I have it here as advanced rank, as the original Carnivores game put it, but let's settle this officially. Triceratops. Is it intermediate or advanced rank? Let me know. Anyway, this Triceratops is the same species as observed in other parts of the planet, including the C1 and Reloaded tours. The size of an elephant, this herbivore is usually one of the only herbivores capable of fighting back. But in the dangerous world of the Abandoned Islands, the trike is just one of many dangerous herbivores, slightly lessening its impact in the dinosaur roster. This large herd animal is an easy target, but despite its size, it is quick on its feet. The next dinosaur available at 100 points is the advanced rank Deinonychus. The Deinonychus is the larger relative of the planet's native Velociraptor, somewhat similar in looks to the planet's Allosaurus. The Deinonychus is nicely differentiated from the Velociraptor, with its bulky build and dark forest green coloration, similar to the smaller Troodon. This dinosaur excels as an ambush predator, as its thick build gives it short bursts of speed, used only when it has crept close enough to its target, thanks to its camouflage. Because it is the abandoned island's equivalent of the Velociraptor, the dinosaur appropriately embodies the tour's theme of being tougher and more dangerous than others, such as the C2 tour. The next advanced rank animal at 300 points is the Phorusrhacus, a large terror bird that roams the tropical jungles of FMMUV-32. Unlike the Diatryma of the planet's polar regions, the Phorusrhacus hunts dinosaurs in the hot jungles, and is appropriately built and colored. The overall construction of terror birds on planet FMMUV-32 is very interesting and visually appealing to me, with their thick, stocky builds, menacing beaks, and basic two-color coloration schemes based on their respective sectors. It's a nice continuous theme that I really appreciate. Now, despite not being a dinosaur, Phorusrhacus is no less suited to hunting and killing prey in its tropical environment. The huge bird quickly runs down its prey and rips it to shreds with its enormous beak. This bird easily keeps up with its reptilian roommates, and although its walk is a bit wonky, like it's walking on its heels, it manages to nicely set itself apart, and add a quality bit of variety to the Abandoned Islands tour. The next advanced rank dinosaur available at 500 points is the mighty Acrocanthosaurus, one of the planet's top predators. This enormous hunter joins the ranks of Ceratosaurus and Carnivores as huge, rarely frightened hunters. In the Abandoned Islands tour, Acrocanthosaurus rules the jungles, easily towering over any prey or predatory creature. Like the aforementioned dinosaurs, Acrocanthosaurus needs a physical characteristic to distinguish it from fellow theropods. Where Ceratosaurus boasts an imposing nose horn and Carnivores two large brow horns, Acrocanthosaurus possesses a high, ridged spine, which gives it a very menacing look. This dinosaur likely functions as a mixture between the aforementioned carnivores and Giganotosaurus, a dinosaur to whom Acrocanthosaurus is closely related. The Acrocanthosaurus is my favorite dinosaur on the Abandoned Islands tour. The model is great and the color scheme is very unique, especially for top-tier carnivores. My only gripe with the beast is its call. It's a rather lackluster bark. However, it is still immensely fun to hunt, and a truly terrifying opponent. The next dinosaur available at expert rank is the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex, a classic dinosaur from the earlier C1 and C2 tours. This huge carnivore returns as the alpha predator for the Abandoned Islands tour, boasting a darker green hide and brighter eyes, similar to the Troodon, giving it better camouflage in the thick jungles. As per usual, the only way to kill the Rex is by shooting it in the eye, or by using extreme weaponry, as the beast's thick, armored hide protects it from regular firearms. This variant of Tyrannosaurus is very similar to the more common version, relentlessly pursuing its prey and smashing them into dust with its powerful jaws. The next and final dinosaur available at 1,000 points is the imposing sauropod Amphicelius. This huge animal towers over every land-based inhabitant of the planet, and is one of the only creatures the T-Rex cannot eat. This enormous dinosaur packs a ton of health, and can only be taken down by extremely powerful weapons. Although probably a good representation of the Amphicelius, the dinosaur's model is a little too long for my taste. It looks too long, lanky, and disjointed for its own good, and doesn't quite fit the typical carnivore's canon style in my opinion. I personally think it would have been cool to see an Amphicelius based on the design by Charles Knight. Despite its size and status as the last and most powerful animal the Abandoned Islands tour has to offer, it's not that aggressive, and would much rather flee than fight. In fact, the only time I've ever actually been killed by an Amphicelius is when it accidentally ran me over as I was trying to take down its friend. And although the beast is difficult to hunt because of its size and immense health, by the time it's unlocked, you should have some pretty incredible firepower at your disposal, which renders its massive health useless. As such, I'd probably rank this huge sauropod at intermediate rank. Not quite low level enough to make novice, but not dangerous enough for anything higher. Carnivores Abandoned Islands features 8 weapons, all of which pack enough variety to keep players interested. The tour provides a healthy mix of new and familiar weapons, and although the weapons do have plenty of variety, many of them lean far to one side on either powerful or weak, ultimately rendering some clear choices and few options. The first weapon available at 0 points is the Camo Shotgun, a lighter variant of the C1 shotgun issued in earlier tours. Now, as I mentioned, this weapon is very similar to the automatic shotgun issued on the C1 and Reloaded tours. The primary differences are mainly aesthetic. This gun is camouflaged to better blend into the jungle habitats of the tour, and features crosshairs within the targeting circle to allow for more precise aiming. Likely, Dino Hunt Corp took the complaints of hunters to heart, with bright colors and a lack of precision ruining many hunts. So camouflage was added to the shotgun, along with precision iron sights. Ultimately, a very fast-firing and effective starter weapon. The next weapon available at 10 points is the classic X-Bow. This is the next weapon you will unlock, which will force players to decide between tricky accuracy and silence, or loud and easy firepower. You know how the X-Bow works at this point. 2 firing pins sighted for 40 and 80 meters, with 4 carbon fiber limbs giving the bow scapula-shattering power. It's tricky to use, but it is powerful, and can be rewarding for its lack of volume in crowded hunts. The next weapon available at 30 points is the Desert Eagle. This golden pistol is fairly powerful, and a decent beginning weapon. It does fire extremely slow, however, at least compared to the 9mm variant issued on earlier tours. This, coupled with its mediocre power, makes it questionable against more advanced game, as it may not down that charging Acrocanthosaurus in time. The next weapon available at 70 points is the Lever Action Rifle. Now, I adore this firearm. There are 2 guns to which I am quite partial: sawed-off shotguns and lever action rifles, and this weapon is by far my favorite on the Abandoned Islands tour. This good old-fashioned rifle has great firepower and an extremely fast rate of fire, and the unique animations make it an overall blast to use. It does, however, fire a little bit to the left, so keep that in mind when you need to hit some precise targets. The next weapon available at 100 points is the classic sniper rifle. Not much has changed with the good old sniper. It still hits exactly where the crosshairs are placed and is not recommended against charging carnivores. Enough said. I do like, however, that the sniper has been downgraded to a 100-point weapon, and the 4th from final weapon to unlock, as I never really felt it deserved such an exalted status as the final weapon, as it is on many tours. The next weapon available at 200 points is the ever-reliable rifle. Probably the best all-around firearm, the rifle has consistent power, speed, and accuracy. Often compared, the rifle and the Camo shotgun are very similar weapons, with the shotgun featuring just slightly more power than the rifle. However, one uses buckshot for close quarters combat, and another fires individual bullets for distant shots, so it's really up to preference which one you can choose. The next weapon available at 1,000 points is the grenade rifle. A very interesting weapon. This is one of the most powerful Dino Hunt Corp has to offer. This is one of the few weapons capable of taking down a T-Rex in 2 shots without having to hit the beast in the eye. The grenade rifle holds 3 grenades per magazine, meaning double ammo is a must if you plan on making hunts last longer. Perhaps because of the danger of the terrain and animals on the Abandoned Islands tour, Dino Hunt Corp issued this rifle as a powerful bonus weapon, as they have seen success with grenade-powered guns during the Crater City incident. However, the repercussions this weapon would have on the environment and the trophy amounts is questionable at best. Probably not one of Dino Hunt Corp's smartest decisions, in my opinion. The final weapon is unlocked at 2,000 points, and is, well, different, to say the least.
In their tongue, Dragonborn!
This weapon allows you to summon the power of the Dragonborn, the hero of Skyrim, with what I believe is a powerful shout. I honestly know nothing about Skyrim, so this is all guesses based on quick research. This weapon is so bizarre, but insanely fun to use. It easily one-shots anything in sight and is accompanied by a powerful introduction and a closing orchestra. I'm not sure how Dino Hunt Corp managed to get a hold of such power, if even they did. Perhaps it is a power that naturally attributes itself to hunters in the abandoned islands, perhaps in order to combat the monster that dwells in Death's domain. Regardless, this is a hilariously overpowered weapon and is definitely worth that 2,000 credit price tag. So there you go guys, Carnivores Abandoned Islands. A really fantastic mod that nicely fleshes out the Carnivores lore, includes a nice mix of old and new elements, and most importantly is very fun to play. I hadn't played Abandoned Islands until very recently, and I had so much fun playing through it. I highly recommend downloading and playing this mod for yourself, and if you want to do so, of course, I provided some links in the description. And of course, thanks as always for watching guys. The feedback and discussions on these videos is always so much fun to be involved with, so keep it up. It's great to be talking to so many people who enjoy carnivores and dinosaurs in general. You guys are the best for supporting this channel and helping it grow. And as long as you keep watching, I'll keep making. Thanks again guys, and I will see you all next time.